Is there anybody out there? Time in Amsterdam. Can you hear the music? What's up? Welcome. I'm trying something new here, so I'm hoping it works. I have my new live stream going on here. Can you guys hear me okay? How's the sound? Does the music sound clear? What's up, everybody? I had a couple crashes on my earlier stream I was trying to do. Bonjour. It sounds good? Clear? I'm gonna wait for a second here. Not sure why Okay, so I'm just getting used to this right now. And so my voice is clear and I'm clear, right? Everybody? Totally weird. I'm using a different camera, a different microphone, everything. And you can hear the music okay? It's clear, great. And then I just turned the music off. It went off, right? Sorry about the interrupted live streams earlier. So I'm looking right now, this is a totally new system, and I'm looking at the chat window, and I think I can even type things in here. I can, look at that. Wow, unbelievable. I'm using OBS, Robbie, exactly right. Can you tell that? I had Aaron set it up for me earlier. It's kind of screwed up because I'm on the screen here and not synced up. So I'm trying not to look at it. I'm just looking at the chat comments. Looks razor sharp. Excellent. Brady, what's up? That's my nephew there. Not in capital letters. Dylan has his computer taken away for 2 days because he didn't tell his mom about the homework that he failed to do at the last minute. So you're not going to see him online for 2 days, Brady. Oops. There's a minute delay in the chat and the video, just giving you a heads up. Okay. I'm not sure how to adjust that. But I'm working on it. I can also play videos from here. What a scam. I can play videos from here where you guys can see the let's see here. I'm gonna try and play something here and see if you guys can see it. You think the chat is faster? Okay, let me see what I can play here video wise. I'm gonna try and play one of my videos here. Let's see if I go here, recently added movies. Okay, so I'm going to play, this is part of my last video. Now tell me if you can see this. Hold on. See, I don't know how to do this yet. Your comment showed up chat before it appeared. Okay, hold on. Let's see if you guys can see this now. Shift D, I go here. No, I have to do it here. Hold on. So you can see that, right?
A musical theme that comprises the primary melodic and rhythmic.
Okay, that works, and you guys can hear me here?
The subject can be short.
Okay. Boom. And then I go back, and I'm back now. I'm on my Hackintosh. That was iTunes, exactly. Okay, cool. And you can see the video? and the video was clear. I think that the live stream chat is delayed. I can tell because normally the things are really going fast on it. We didn't see the video there. Okay. All right, well, we're still working out the bugs here. Aaron did build my Hackintosh. Yes, he did. Something in Minor Bach. The video wasn't showing when you thought it was. Okay, it was just showing my iTunes, right? How hard was the Hackintosh to build? It was easy for him. He did it in about 30 minutes. Essentially, all you do is you buy the enclosure, or you take the enclosure, you put it down on its side. What did he do next? He put the motherboard on a piece of cardboard, I think it was, and then put the microprocessor in, and then I believe put this CPU grease on it, screwed it down with a bracket, then put the heat sink on it, screwed that down, plugged that in, put the power supply in the board, and I'm trying to think what else there was, and then put the RAM in, you know. I mean, there's hardly anything to it. It was so easy. Put the hard drive in. No problem. No problem at all. So, and iOS, so the it took a couple hours to get the drivers correct. So that's the only thing that takes time with it. But once it got up and running, absolutely had no problem with it. It runs unbelievably well. It's I want to say 5 months I've had it now, and I've had absolutely no problems. So the only thing that you have to be careful about is updating your computer. You got to turn off all the updates. What's up, Nari? Look at that little smiley face there. I love that. Anyways, so that's the look. I'm 100% behind the Hackintosh thing. If I didn't have to edit my videos using Final Cut Pro, I'm sure I could have easily moved to a PC. The auto update thing is a problem, and honestly, auto update is a problem for any Macs. So the new thing, if you've updated your phone recently, they're trying to make you install Apple Pay. So that's another thing. And now, as you guys noticed with the new OS, you cannot dismiss the auto update little banner up there. It's terrible. But Aaron went in and did something and got rid of it, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't come up anymore. So that's pretty much the only thing that you have to worry about once you get it set, is to make sure you just don't update things by accident. Other than that, I mean, like I said, 5-6 months now I've been using it, no problem. That's amazing, I think. Okay, so Elliot, shame Apple went downhill. I know it's I don't know what the answer is for this as far as the computer, pro users with Apple. I don't know what to do. You can still buy a 2015. You can still find computers that are a couple years old that work perfectly well, and you'll have no problems with. I have a breakout box that I had bought before my other computer died. That I had a breakout box, the Thunderbolt breakout box. That had more USB 3s on it. Had an HDMI port on it. Had an Ethernet port. So it's that's the only thing that I think those are the only issues. Art says, you're 30 years old and the current pop music sucks, especially lyrics. Awful. Where did the poetry go? So I have a theory on this, and I like to talk about this theory. The theory is that because, well, there's two reasons. One reason, which I harp on a lot, is because record labels are essentially don't let artists write their own music, number one. Number two, so it's all producer driven. So of course they're writing generic songs. And number two, kids don't ever have any experiences like they did 40 years ago, I don't believe. The experience I had growing up when I was able to go out trick-or-treating when I was 5 years old by myself with my friends, or whatever. You walked, you went anywhere, you could get on the bus, I went to downtown Rochester, I got on the bus, and it's a completely different life experience. People are way more overprotective with their kids now. I'm no different. And kids don't have the same life experiences. Parents are helicopter parents, and it's only people that I think, that have experiences traveling. If you go to school away from your parents, let's say you go to boarding school or something like that. Elliot, we used to go buy records in Boston, taking the train, subway, and never thought about it. Your dad never probably gave it a thought ever. So it changes your mind. It changes your brain. You think differently when you're, when I went to college, my parents let me stay out as late as I wanted any night. It didn't matter. And because of that, when I got to college, I buckled down and I did work. So, because there was nothing, I didn't have to rebel against anything. I got all my rebelling out. Let's see. Do I think modern metal is dying because there are no good metal bands? Well, a lot of the people on here would tell you that there's a lot of good metal bands. There are bands that are into progressive metal that are great bands, but I think the real question is, will metal ever become mainstream again, or will any rock music become mainstream again? And that is, I don't know if it ever will. Honestly, I think that record labels don't think that people like rock music anymore, so they don't sign any rock bands. They sign a few, but they, but they don't really put anything behind them. And I don't think the kids really dig rock music. I don't think kids like guitars. And you can say, I always said that trends will change. Rock, I read a great interview with Terry Date. Terry Date, I don't know if you know of him. He's a producer engineer. He did, he did the Soundgarden, Bad Motorfinger. He did a lot of big rock records in the 80s, more alternative bands. And he had a great article, it was in EQ magazine probably 15, 17 years ago, something like that. And he said that rock would always come back around every 7 years, and he would be relevant. And he said that he was on his third time around as a producer. And that 7-year cycle, if you think about it. So I started thinking, okay, well, he was in during grunge. Then if you go back, grunge had a life of pretty much from 91 to 95 or 96. That was about 5 years. And then you had 80s metal, right, that had a life up until really not totally until 1991, because there was a fade away from it in 1990 with bands like REM, and there was REM, Jesus Jones, what's the band? There's a lot of these kind of bands that were really different that were, I don't know, they're different kind of rock music that happened in this time period between 89 and 91. There's a transition to grunge that started with bands in 87 like Guns N' Roses, but really Jane's Addiction, I thought, was a transitional band into grunge. Then you had bands that were making indie records like Soundgarden, like Nirvana was making indie records, Mother Love Bone, Green River, bands like that in Seattle. There was a big indie scene there. There was Sub Pop, there was SST, the Pixies were coming on the scene. Then you had bands like Sonic Youth. You had bands like Radiohead that were getting started over in Europe. There was this shoegazing scene and the Britpop movement that was getting going in the late 80s, early 90s. That kind of blew up and peaked in around 1996. And then there was kind of a dead area until, you could say Limp Bizkit and bands like that happened and ushered in the new metal phase. But My Bloody Valentine was part of the shoegazing movement. 1988, Loveless came out. So that was that transitional period. Blur was probably 91 or so that they started becoming big. So I think then grunge, or then new metal, lasted until it got burned out with bands like Nickelback. It just did. And that was it. I think there was a generational shift there where kids said, okay, enough of this. And they started listening to the people that were rock fans went from rock music, that people that fell off during new metal, because a lot of my friends did not like new metal, my friends that liked grunge, and they went on and started listening to country before country became really horrendous. So you had that split off of people that wanted guitar music, so they went into country, and now country's gotten ridiculous. And then you had people that went into EDM music. There was always a group of people that liked dance music. But rock died when people accepted Nickelback. That's, Zara Villanova just said that, and I think that that's pretty accurate. 30 million records they sold. Do I dislike EDM since it's not playable? I don't dislike EDM because I happen to be a fan of production, and I think I think production. So I have two different brains. I have the brain of a listener that enjoys music, and I have the brain of a producer that enjoys production. And they're two very different things. If someone does a nice filter sweep, I can appreciate it. If they have a great kick drum sound, or they're using, distortion in a particular way that sounds cool, I can appreciate it. If they have huge low end on their mix, whatever it is. There's a lot of different things that I can appreciate as a listener that I wouldn't necessarily listen to for enjoyment. I know that sounds weird. I'll take it. I'm trying to think of a particular record. There were some new metal bands that made great sounding records that I didn't like the music at all. There were a couple that I liked the sound of their records, and I really didn't like their music at all. I can listen to, Cash Me Outside and hate the song and what it's about, but like the production of it. I always laugh about that song because when I wanted to hate it, when all my friends were saying 3 months ago, oh, can you believe this band got signed? Music is over. And I listened and I was like, wow, great vocal production on it. Man, I like the track. I can't stand the song, but it sounds great. So I think that you had this whole, I think there was a bunch of things that were working together. It's kind of like the statistic that I find fascinating about jazz. Back in 1986, the median age of a jazz listener was 26 years old. And in 2012, it was 46 years old. So it's the same people. Okay, jazz never picked up any new listeners in the last 25 years, essentially. That's why when you go to a jazz concert, you see people with this color hair. When I went to see Zakir Hussain play at Emory University, Zakir Hussain is a great tabla, Indian tabla player, and he had Dave Holland playing bass, and he had Chris Potter playing sax, and the place was packed. It was packed with old people, and you'd think that if you think that people, having a concert at a college would bring people in, then you'd be surprised, because I was shocked. I mean, I was shocked when I went to see Pat Metheny. I know that Macabre 2007 says they saw Pat in London and there were young people there. But when I saw Pat here, there was no one under 50 years old, essentially. You always see young kids at Metheny shows. Brett, every one of my friends that I ask about this, and I'm not sure where you're seeing them, unless you're seeing them in big cities in the Northeast. Everyone that I ask says there's no young people anymore, Adam. There's no young people at jazz shows. So the question is that I asked, does age influence musical ability and musical taste? For example, do you like different kinds of music as you get older that you would never have liked when you're a teenager or in your 20s? Do people's tastes, will you like Metallica when will you still listen to Master of Puppets when you're 75 years old? And that's a good question, right? Because they haven't been around long enough. But yes, Art says, you will. Age does influence taste. I look at, so Tom says that you used to love pop punk and now you write orchestral music. Case in point. Hans Zimmer with his tick-tock, click-clock, saha. Okay. Elise says, I was 16, went to go see John McLaughlin. There were very few young people there, but there were some. Okay, well, you're 16, so you were one of the ones there. Is there anything such as bad music? There's tons of bad music. I was at Metallica. I went to see Metallica play when they were here with Avenged Sevenfold opening. And there's tons of old people there. There's tons of people that were the same age as Metallica. People that were in their 20s, in the late 80s, early 90s, Let's see here. Luan says, I know you're fed up with Jacob Collier questions, but since this is the topic, what do you actually think about Jacob's album if you listen to it entirely? I think Jacob's a really talented guy. I don't care for all the the vocoder stuff. It really leaves me kind of cold, I have to say. And I think he's an incredibly talented kid. But I'm much more into organic sounds, and it's one thing if you did one record like that, but if you keep going like that and keep making records like that, then that's not really my thing. How would I define objectively bad music? Well, that's pretty subjective, I guess, right? I've got my own tastes. Elliot, he's very talented, but depth isn't there yet. Maybe he will do good things later on. Yeah, I think that's true. I agree with you, Elliot, on that. To me, the fact that he's a multi-instrumentalist and really good, or very good, not phenomenal on every instrument, but is a real plus, and that I think bodes well for his future. So I think, and he's an incredibly talented, gifted kid. He's got an amazing ear, and he's very bright. Jerry asked me if I'm a Joe Bonamassa fan. I'm a big Joe Bonamassa fan. I think he's a great player. I like his influences because I like Eric Johnson, and I like all of his influences. He's got great chops. He's got a great feel, and he's got a great tone, and he's. I think that he's he's done something that's really difficult, which is how to make a living as a guitar player now in 2017, almost 2018. He's been doing it for the last 20 years and still doing it. How about Richard Carpenter? I didn't know Richard Carpenter. I love the Carpenters, though. Did I ever meet Stevie Ray Vaughan? I did not. Do I like Mastodon? I like Mastodon. I like the record, the couple records Brendan O'Brien did. I thought that he did here in Atlanta. I thought that they were great sounding records. Let's see here, and I thought they had some, they've got some cool music. They're Atlanta boys. Let's see here. Talk about Guthrie Govan and improvisation. Okay, Guthrie. Guthrie is one of the best improvisers on the guitar, I believe. He has pretty limitless ideas rhythmically and can execute anything. And he's got great feel for blues, which is really extremely rare. He has an amazingly good flow of ideas and can, Guthrie is unbelievable. That's all I can say. My brother sent me a video of him 10 years ago. He sent me him playing over that Larry Carlton backing track, and I was blown away, I have to say. He said, "You're not going to believe this guy." Let's see. Alan Holdsworth, Beato must know. Of course I know. I made a couple videos on him. I love Alan. I loved Alan. Trey Anastasio is amazing. So I produced a record of Trey's called Bar 17 back in 2004 or 5, and I got to spend 4.5 months with him. And I'll tell you, my favorite Trey playing ever was every day when he got to the studio and he warmed up for about 45 minutes by himself using his looper pedal. It was unbelievable. And I used to say, why don't you make a record like that? He was great. And I played through his rig a ton of times, and his rig sounded incredible. So, I'll tell you about Trey. There's one thing I can tell. I signed an NDA. It was the only record I signed an NDA of, but Trey's guitar tech would come in every day. His name was Brian, I believe. He'd come in every day and trace every single cable, look at every tube. There was never a buzz, a hum, anything in his sound. It was so pure, yet it sounded killer. I mean, and it was, the sound just made you play. So yeah. Trey was great. Am I a fan of Oasis? The first two records, the first three records are incredibly good. What's the Story? Morning Glory. Some of my favorite songs. I love Champagne Supernova and Wonderwall. Those are incredible. They had so many. I don't think there was a bad song in the first two records, honestly. Huge Oasis fan. Let's see here. What about, do I like Mars Volta? I like Mars Volta. Hold on. Wait, I saw something. I skipped something here. Oh, I saw two Julian Lange comments here. He's a great player. Matter of fact, I had a transcription of something that I was doing apparently that I forgot of something that he did that I transcribed probably it must have been 6-8 months ago, but I found a Guitar Pro session where I transcribed a big part of one of his solos or like a solo piece that he did, and I don't even remember doing it. Let's see here. Just passing through to tell you I love your videos. Interesting, awesome. Keep it good work. You're very welcome. Sigur Rós, very cool band. Let's see here. What is my, hold on, what is my, let's see. Oh, I can't even keep up with this comment thing is kind of weird, guys. Sorry. I'm not used to it yet. Hold on. I have to scroll on it. Could I say something about The Cure? Depeche Mode. Aha. The Cure. So I got to meet Robert Smith in 1999 or so here in Atlanta. And you know, the Cure was a great band. One of my favorite records of theirs, which was not one of their biggest ones, was High, I believe it was. Was that the record? They had Friday I'm in Love on it, but there were some incredible album tracks on that, and it was a killer sounding record. Came out in probably 91 or so. But yeah, I'm a massively big Cure fan. I was. Let's see, John Frusciante fan, of course. Thoughts on Rachmaninoff? What's not to love? Art, Black Hole Sun, one of the best mixes ever. Those drums. Okay, so this is what I know about Black Hole Sun. So Black Hole Sun was mixed by Brendan O'Brien here in Atlanta, but the drums I heard on that song were submixed ahead of time by Jason Casaro, who engineered the record and did an incredibly good job. He's a phenomenal engineer. And Michael Beinhorn produced it. And I heard that they submixed the drums on that particular song down to 4 tracks or so. So that was a pretty much locked in sound, and it's huge. Absolutely huge. The drums on that record are huge. One of the best drum sounds ever on a rock records, I think. Let's see here. David Bowie, genius, of course. The Cure album was Wish. That had the song High on it and had Friday I'm in Love. And yes, I think High was the first track on there. What do I think of the Eventide plugins? Is it worth $300 to subscribe? They've got some decent plugins. $300. Is it $300 for the bundle? What is it? I don't understand. It's not $300 a year for that. That seems really expensive. That sounds expensive. Let's see here. For someone wanting to get into classical music, where would I recommend to start? Do you know anything about classical music? I mean, I would start with probably, Bach, Beethoven, Mozart. That's a good starting place. Add in a little Haydn, then some. I would probably add in some Scarlatti in there too. Then I'd move on and put in some Schubert, Schumann, and Mendelssohn. Then I'd do some Brahms and Liszt, Chopin. Then I move on to, others. Well, that's a good start there. That's a good place to start. Just write those down. Beethoven symphonies, yeah. My favorite Beethoven symphonies are the 6th and the 9th, just to throw that out there. The sixth, the Pastoral. The Pastoral is I guess you would call it a programmatic symphony that is has a lot of nature sounds, and it is incredibly beautiful. F major. Let's see. I think that's the right key. It's got an incredibly beautiful theme, opening theme, and it's just, it's one of the best symphonies ever written. Then so let's see here. No, Mozart. I said Mozart. Mozart was the second person I said. I said Bach, Mozart, Beethoven. Use of autotune in rock alternative music. Debating on giving Mellotine a try. That's a good question. Logan. Autotune, to me, leaves a lot of artifacts, a lot of harshness in the upper mids around 3 to 4K because of the way that the algorithm works on it. Melodyne is more difficult to use, but you can do a lot of really cool things on it. One of the things you can do is you can create harmonies that on their own sound really bizarre, but within a track sound great. And I would use that with bands that couldn't sing harmonies, and you wouldn't believe how many bands I work with that cannot sing any harmonies. This is another difference between bands from even 25 years ago to now, is that you always would have multiple singers in a band. Most bands, if you think about bands, let's take the Eagles. You got 5 guys that can sing in there. How about the Beatles? Everybody can sing in the Beatles. The Stones, Keith Richards is as good a singer. I love Keith Richards. One of my favorite Rolling Stones song is called Happy. It's on, it's a Keith Richards song. It's on Exile on Main Street. Unbelievable. Keith Richards sings a lead, and when Mick Jagger comes into the chorus, it's phenomenal. Do I ever listen to Italian artists or music? Which Italians do you know? My mom listened to a lot of Italian music when I grew up, so I listened to Italian music then, but I don't listen to a lot of Italian music actively. You have a Jazzmaster cookbook, wondering what I don't know what that is, wondering what the Beato book has that's different. Lydian Chromatic? My favorite is, okay. I'm your favorite YouTube guy besides 3 other people. Let's see here. I guess everyone wants to know my thoughts on Kanye. What about Kanye? I don't really think about Kanye, to be honest with you. He's, he's a 43-year-old guy. And I think that, I think that it's, do people listen to Kanye anymore? I don't even know. I don't hear anybody talk about Kanye anymore, but maybe I'm just clueless. I know his record was really, his last record was really good, but that was probably 3 or 4 years ago. Now it seems like people come and go so fast. I know his age. Of course, I know his age. And I think that that kind of goes into my thing. Does age influence music ability and taste? I think people get more taste as they get older, but they don't have the drive and they don't have the creative energy in a lot of cases to execute on it. So it's kind of a, they don't have the chops. Their brains don't fire as fast. It's not quite as good for improvisation, but it's great for composition. What are my thoughts on Syd Barrett? I love Syd Barrett. When he was in Pink Floyd, they were great with him and without him. I love the Metal record. I think that's a phenomenal record. Um, let's see here. You think he's pretty big still, kind of? You think being eclipsed by Kendrick Lamar? Yes, that's exactly what I would say. I mean, just from it's just an impression on things, and I think that people have that people tire of artists much faster than they used to. People didn't used to tire an artist. It used to be there. There's something that nobody talks about here that has always interested me, and it never came to my mind until right now to talk about. But back in the 70s, bands would make records from the 60s and 70s, and they would change with the times. Like the Grateful Dead made a disco record, or like people in the mid 70s made disco records, and people like Billy Joel in the late 70s made new wave records because new wave was big. And bands would just make records to follow the style change. And nobody does that anymore. They just get a whole new set of bands. Let's see. Can I recommend some orchestral instrumentation? Some material on orchestral instrumentation. I can recommend some orchestral books, but I'm not sure what you're asking there. Let's see here. Are there any bands that are too old and need to hang it up? Plenty of bands that are too old and need to hang it up. But that doesn't mean that they should. How do you keep your creative energy with age? That is a great question. I think that, I like to feel like I have a lot of creative energy. Otherwise, people wouldn't be watching here. And I think because coffee, Elliot, exactly. I think that for me, because I did nothing with my musical, at least my I didn't write a lot between the mid 90s or the late 90s and a year and a half ago when I started this channel. And I had a lot of things that I wanted to say, and I still do. Many, many things. I haven't even gotten close to saying a quarter of the things that I've said. So that's one of the things is by, a lot of people kind of burn out their creativity young, when they're young or for whatever reasons. But it's hard to say. Let's see here. Is John Mayer a good musician? He's an excellent musician. He's a great guitar player. Do I like Rush? I love Rush. The Rush that I like is the Rush I grew up with. Once again, it's probably a product of growing up back then. But I love Farewell to Kings, 2112, Hemispheres. So that's kind of that's what I think about Rush. I really dig Rush. What are my plans for 2018? Tom. Same thing for 2017 on here. I look like Andre's dad. Oh, brother. I hope you're not in your 40s, Andre. Rush should have hired a singer. No. Brett says, most composers get better with age. Do jazzers get better with age? That's the question. And right there comes into kind of what I was talking about. That improvising is something that needs to happen immediately. It's composition on the spot, okay? So I think that when a composer gets to be older, they can take advantage of the time. I mean, Bach's greatest works were near the end of his life. Beethoven's were as well. Mozart's were as well. You know, a lot of the greatest composers wrote their most advanced works and most beautiful and, you know, just on every level, technically everything at the end of their life. And so anyways, that's, you know, so it takes a different part of your brain, essentially. That's probably why. Art Tatum versus Oscar Peterson. Well, you can't have one without the other. Or you can't have Oscar Peterson without Art Tatum. But I think that people tend to, you know, do their best writing later in life and do their best playing earlier in life. Now, there's exceptions. I think that Tom Petty did some of his best writing later in life. The stuff that I like of Tom Petty's were done in his late 30s. So let's see. What's the next evolutionary step in the music business? Will it be possible for artists to work full time, like album sales, for example? Of course. I think that it will be, but artists need to think in a very different way than they do, because just because of social media. I mean, it really depends on what happens with the internet too, with net neutrality. You know, if people are doling out, you know, bundles to buy, let's say you got to pay $2 a month to be on Twitter, $5 a month to be on YouTube, and it's bundled in that way. It could hinder people's abilities to make a living through things like this, through YouTube or whatever it is. So, you know, it's hard to say what you know, how people are going to make money, because it's pretty much changing every day. So, you know, but that is Steve Vai or Randy Rhoads? Both. Come on. Let's see. Greatest live bands ever. U2 for you. U2 is a phenomenal live band. I love U2. How do you write modal etudes like your Dorian etude? Love this type of playing. Do I know artists that play in this style? How do you write one? You don't use any notes outside the Dorian's mode. Schofield or Matheny? I love these kind of questions. Both. Do I prefer to stay on topic on these live chats, or is it a freak-for-all Q&A? It's pretty much always a Q&A. System of a Down. Great band. I don't know what they're doing now, to be honest with you. I don't know what happened. So let's see here. Zimmer or Williams? John Williams. No offense to Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer would say the same thing. Thoughts on Joe Barresi? Really dig Joe Barresi's engineering and mixing. I like his engineering a lot. I think he's killer. And he's done some incredible mixing too. Joe's a really talented guy. Thoughts on death? I'm thinking. Hold on. I heard one. Hold on. Game of Thrones or Walking Dead? Wow. Game of Thrones, I got to say. I think Walking Dead, I haven't watched the last 2 episodes, but it's hard. I think Game of Thrones is ending at the right time. Let's see. I love Avenged Sevenfold's record, The Stage. What about Jobim or any other Brazilian artist? I mean, what do you Tom Jobim is one of the greatest songwriters of all time. Aaron or Michelle? Let's see. James, Big Mac or Whopper? Big Mac. Let's see here. You're recording tomorrow morning at your music engineering college. Any tips? Make sure everything's in phase. Hans Zimmer makes. Hold on. Hans Zimmer. Um, this chat thing is really, really fast here. Um, Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul? Breaking Bad was my favorite. I don't know. Better Call Saul is, I think, equally as good. I think it's unbelievable. Um, um, let's see here. System of a Down's vocalist does film scoring now. Okay, that makes sense. Um, Adam Neely said, performance to excite human excitement. Jazzers who play local jazz clubs are always impressed, but we don't know if their improvising is better. Thoughts on Philip Glass? I like some Philip Glass. Thanks for telling me about Carl, since I haven't seen it. I'm blocking you. Who is that? Carl dies? You get blocked. Boom. That's what I do with people who give away things like that. Did somebody else give it away earlier? I hope if you did, you better delete it because I'm going to scroll up and when I find you, I'm going to block you. Where is it? I think someone else said that. I haven't watched the last 2 episodes. It's totally lame. Message retracted? I hope that was you, Alejandro. Thoughts on Carl? I haven't watched it. I've got the last half of the second to last episode to watch and the new episode. Well, now I've been ruined here. John Williams or James Horner? John Williams. Although I did listen to James Horner today. Let's see here. Let's see. Invest in home studio or networking with bigger studios? Home studio. No question about it. Walking Dead's been dead since Negan. You know, I agree. I do. I hate to say it. John Williams or Howard Shore? Howard Shore is excellent, but John Williams for sure. I deleted it because you didn't read it. I asked about how to get into jazz. I never said anything about Walking Dead. Okay, good. Do I believe this is going too fast here? Do I believe classical music and jazz music need to embrace music video format? I've never seen a jazz music video up until recently with Chick Corea Electric Band. Well, jazz players are typically boring to watch, and they're old, so it's hard to it's hard to it's hard to make good videos if you know. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that. What do I think about? Do I hate Saint Anger? I don't dig that record. Let's see. John Williams or Howard Shore? Come on, I already answered that. Alan Holdsworth or Iden? They're 2 different things. What is this up here? Favorite Spinal Tap scene? Oh man. Favorite Spinal Tap scenes. One of them is when they're trying to sing at Elvis's grave. Since my baby left me. That's one of the best. When they get lost backstage. Hello, Cleveland. That's one of the best. I mean, it's like everything is great in that movie. Thanks for that. That is, I love Spinal Tap. Lennon or McCartney? Lennon. Even though I love the Beatles, everything about the Beatles. Is Bob Rock still relevant when not working with Metallica? You know, I don't know. I'm not sure what Bob Rock has done lately. Led Zeppelin? Of course. What about Marty Friedman? What do you want to know about Marty Friedman? Why do I hate your questions? Did you ask me a question? Ever interact with Yes? No. Favorite music-related movie, please. Probably music-related movie. Probably, I don't know, Singles maybe? That was a great music-related movie. Dylan or Lennon? Both. I'm going to California. Where should I go? I thought you were talking about the song. Let's see. Can I do a lesson on Hendrix chord embellishing? Yeah, I can. There's just a lot of stuff like that out there. Nirvana or Alice in Chains? Both. Coltrane or Parker? Both. Spitfire Audio or Cinesamples? Not sure about that. I don't like the people at Spitfire, but I think their stuff is better. But it's just different. I use them both together. Van Halen or Van Hagar? Van Halen, no question. Nowadays favorite band? Oh man, I'm not sure. Before I met Janine, my life was cosmically in shambles. David St. Hubbins, exactly. When is the next sounding off? I was working on my Warren Hewart video just earlier after my other live streams crashed. Regular iMac or Hackintosh? Hackintosh. Fan of Frank Gambale's technique. Yes, huge fan of Frank. Anyone or Iden Essen? Iden Essen. Don't even ask me. Why don't I like the people at Spitfire? I just don't like them. Signing off with Jacob Collier. It's the fourth time you asked. Man, why are people always asking me this? I wrote to Jacob Collier and never heard back. Andre Previn, better as a jazz player or composer? Better as a conductor. Frank Gambale is amazing. Rick Beato or Dylan Beato? Dylan Beato. Signing off with Misha Mansour. I wrote to Misha. I'll need to write him back. To get a lame answer on Spinal Tap? I mean, what am I? I'm not sure what. I can't quote the exact Spinal Tap. I've watched Spinal Tap 350 times. So it's one of my favorite movies. One of my favorite music movies. Okay, so that's definitely one of them. So Spinal Tap. I like Rockstar because that's a comedy. Sounding off with John Patitucci or Chris McBride. Either of them would be good. Rick Neely or Adam Beato? I like that. Thoughts on animals as leaders? I'm trying to get Tosin on, and I have my list of people, but I'm always so backed up with stuff. It's hard to get on this. I need to spend full time on this stuff. It's crazy. Okay. All right, I think I'm just about done here because I got to go eat dinner. You guys are awesome. Don't forget, buy my book, my Beato book, or buy my record. Also, I have my Advanced Harmonic Concepts course that you guys should really check out because that is a really good one. Thoughts on Andrew Hong? I like Andrew's killer. I love his videos. Pim Jacobs. That's not the Pim Jacobs, is it? I know that Pim Jacobs that played with Wes Montgomery, pianist, but you'd have to be about 80 years old. Can't be him. Maybe you're related to him though. You guys are incredible. I got to figure out how to stop this thing. Hold on. I got to figure out here. I know I have to do something. Aaron taught me here. I go like this. See you guys.